the game by nature is violent. However, I think the impetus for coaching in that exact situation isn't so much about the contact. It's about making sure that coaches make sure that the players have the skill, the skating skill, the edge control, the understanding and the hockey sense that goes along with angling and stick position and body position, so that at some point in time when the contact occurs, the point is never, or rarely should it be, that I'm going to try to take your head off. It's, you've got the thing that I want the most, and that's the puck. So whatever I do to try and separate you from the puck, that's the goal, and that I possess it. And now our team has the opportunity to score and do the fun things in the game. So within all of that context, there's very little discussion about the hit itself. And so I think it's manageable. It's not easy, but it's manageable in terms of teaching it properly, so that when at whatever age and that they enter into it, and whether they progress from one level where there's been no contact to a level where there is, you should feel 100% confident and comfortable that that coach at that level is going to be able to transition that player into that next phase of contact. I don't really believe, and soapbox here for a second, I've felt this for a long time. We get on this idea that contact versus no contact. I coached in the Olympic Games in 1998 with the women's team, and there was a tremendous amount of contact in a non-contact sport. But taught properly with good angling and skating skills and so on and so forth, and separating player and puck became the goal. I'm really reluctant to suggest that we can't have these things coexist properly, and that we don't need to be so contact versus non-contact. I think if taught properly, the transition is certainly manageable, if not easy.
To suggest that it's non-contact, to suggest that there are elements in the game where there'll never be contact, is ludicrous. There's always going to be contact. Now, the thing that I think is really important, to piggyback on what Ray's talking about, is that when we ask coaches to attend a checking skills program, so Hockey Alberta does a great job of making sure that teaching checking skills is a part of the curriculum for coaches. The first thing they say is, well, I'm coaching Pee Wee hockey, we don't have any body checking, so I don't need that course. Well, if they don't need that course, then they're not teaching what Ray's talking about, which are the skills to be an effective checker. And in a contact sport, if you're teaching those skills, the progression into body checking is a natural one. Now, there is hitting and there's body checking, and there's a big difference. Hitting for the sake of, as Ray said, taking someone's head off, that's different than body checking with the idea of displacing the puck carrier from controlling the puck. If we don't get coaches to take those programs so that they can teach those skills, then we're doing a disservice to our kids. They're in a dangerous situation if they're not being taught checking skills, from the skating skills all the way up to contact confidence, and then from there progressing into body checking. The resources are there, the clinics are there, and coaches are ignoring the importance of that progression that kids need. And I think that kids can move from Pee Wee 4 to Pee Wee 3, or sorry, Bantam 4 to Bantam 3, right, and cross that threshold into a body checking game because they've got a sound foundation of checking skills.
I think when you're a young boy, it's exciting at first. You know, you want to see, okay, where do I stack up against these other guys? And I noticed it this year because we just finished, as I told you, I coached Pee Wee this year, and we didn't have hitting. We played the spring season, we had hitting. Okay, so there was an adjustment, but you know, as some of the parents would ask us over the course of the year, what are you guys doing to teach these guys the proper techniques of body checking? Like, I don't see you guys doing any hitting drills. We said, to speak to like Ray said and Paul, every single time we're on the ice and we do drills, that is our focus, about putting yourself in a safe position. First thing we tell the defenseman when you go back to breakout, what do? You shoulder check. And you never go into the boards straight on, you go on an angle. You know, as a forward, you know, when you're getting a puck or if you're getting pinched off, You don't stand 3 feet or 2 feet off the boards. You put yourself against the dasher. So these things are the responsibility of the coaches to implement into these players' games at an early age, so the transition is seamless. But what I noticed is the first weekend, okay, it's body checking. Okay, we're going to go out and see how tough we are. Okay, we're going to play 5 games in 3 days. And by the end of it, were there some big hits? Sure there were. There were some big hits. But by the end of it, the guys were exhausted. They had never been so sore in their life. We played our next tournament. It was right back to like we were playing our regular season, where the pace picked up. You'd have the odd body check, but these guys weren't even thinking about hitting anymore.
It's the lowest skill your son or daughter has to learn. Your daughter's not applicable. Your son, the hardest thing to do on a rink, if you rank all the things they have to do, the lowest skill level required is the body check. We're putting it at the right end. I agree with everything about teaching it. Teach it, teach kids so they don't get surprised by it, but they'll all figure it out.
Part of my my role now with the Alberta Junior Hockey League is to, it comes across my desk reviewing when it comes to supplemental discipline. So when we look at hits, dangerous hits, where there'd be head contact. So I'm with the fellows here when they're talking about the responsibility falling on the coaches to be able to teach that. Because when I see those, and the first thing that comes to me is that I look and I go, technique both on the checker and the checkee. You know, the person receiving and not in a dangerous play or a violent hit, and just the position to put themselves in. And I've seen that, you know, coaching junior, that we get the players that come into the program and the checking skills that are lacking. I'm not talking about the body checking, but the checking skill, the ability to separate, angling, you know, that skill. So, and to your point about asking, is there any tips? I think it's on both sides. We talk so much about the person that's delivering the check, but also the person that was receiving. So as coaches, what's the one thing that we do? We teach players to protect the puck. So just by doing that, we're putting a player in a vulnerable position. And we're teaching that. So I think it's on both sides. Sometimes the emphasis is on the person delivering, but also the player receiving.